To people of Bangladesh, Nepal and Sri Lanka, Happy New Year. The General Skilled Migration Program provides state and territory pathway options for eligible non-citizens to apply for permanent residency in Australia. Hi, my name's Sylvia Lago. I'm an Australian registered migration agent. I have over 10 years of industry experience. I'm joined here today by Sanju, our General Manager of Pathway Education. Hi Sanju.
Hello Lydia and hello everyone. I would like to say 𝗵𝗵 𝗵𝗏 𝐿 සියලුම ලංකාවේ සිටින ඕස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ සිටින ඒ වගේම වෙනත් රටවල් වල ඉන්න හැම කෙනාටම මේ අවුරුද්ද ටිකක් අමාරු වුණා. ඉදිරියට තියෙන අවුරුද්ද සුබම සුබ වෙන්න කියලා මම ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. Back to Lydia.
Thanks Sanju. Okay, we're going to start in Victoria. There are two pathways to permanent residency in the state of Victoria. They are target sector and skill gap. So for target sector, these include areas of health, medical, manufacturing, digital and critical sectors. So the requirement is that you be working in that target sector, or you have a skills assessment and you may be working in another area. So for example, you could be an in-house lawyer or an accountant or an IT specialist working for a medical centre, for example, and therefore you may be eligible under that pathway. For skill gap, there's two occupations, early childhood and chef. So if you have qualifications for pre-primary school, you're working as an educator in Victoria, or you're a chef, you have a positive skills assessment as a chef and you're working as a chef in Victoria, you also could be eligible for permanent residency under that pathway of skill gap. Now I'm going to pass back to Sanju, who's going to talk about the popular course options and other ways to apply for subclass 190 and 491.
Okay, thank you Lydia, and I want to start with a skill gap pathway which Lydia already spoke about. As she mentioned, early childhood education and commercial cookery is the best option in Victoria. And if you already completed bachelor's or master's in Victoria, you can start with graduate diploma of early childhood education, which will give you a PR pathway. Later I will talk about the requirements to get into the program and the skill assessment requirements. And with commercial cookery, the requirements are low, like you have to get 5.5 in IELTS or PT equivalent to get into the program, and you can start with certificate 3, 4 to get the skill assessments. And back to target sectors, she already explained to you about what are the target sectors. So well, for example, IT, if you, as she mentioned, if you're working as a software engineer in a hospital, yes, you have a PR pathway in Victoria. And not only IT, nursing, community services also good options, especially in Victoria. And if you're planning to do a trade course, we would suggest carpentry, painting, building construction. We can guide you with the levels of the courses that you can enroll later on. Back to Lydia.
Thanks Sanju. So moving on to New South Wales, in this particular state, in all cases your occupation must be open in any region within that state. Okay, so let's say you're an accountant or an engineer, then that occupation must be open within that particular region within New South Wales. Okay, we can check your eligibility to apply if you provide us with your nominated occupation, work experience and the region that you're interested in New South Wales. For subclass 491 in regional New South Wales, there are 3 different streams here. So stream 1 requires that you live and work in your nominated occupation. Stream 2 is that you have recently completed studies in New South Wales and that you have a skills assessment in your nominated occupation. Stream 3 is that you are skilled in an occupation that's required in a particular region. Subclass 190 for urban areas of New South Wales is quite simple. So for onshore applicants, you must be residing in New South Wales for 3 months and working no less than 20 hours a week. For offshore applicants, the requirement is that you have 3 years of relevant work experience for that particular nominated occupation. And those are the requirements for New South Wales. So now we're going to move over to Canberra in the ACT, our first territory. So to be eligible for permanent residency over in Canberra, it requires that you be eligible under what's called the Canberra Matrix. So it depends on whether you live and work within that region. If you meet the requirements, then you can lodge an application for that particular nominated occupation. And at this point, I'm going to hand over back to Sanju, who's going to talk about courses in Canberra.
Yeah, okay. So coming to Canberra, ACT, one of the best option is IT. If you're planning to study bachelor, masters, IT is a very good option. Also accounting, engineering and nursing. As you can see, in Victoria, Canberra and most of the states, nursing is one of the best options. So if you want to get more options, if you want to get assistant with any of these courses, you can always contact Pathway Education. We're working with a lot of institutes, universities and colleges all over Australia. We can guide you with that. Okay, back to Lydia.
Thanks, Angie. Okay, we're going to stay in Canberra for a minute and just make another point about the Canberra Matrix. The benefits of the Canberra Matrix is that you can get extra points. For example, if you're qualified in IT or in accounting and you want to do a diploma in accounting, or you have a skills assessment and your intention is to go out to the ACT and study and do your diploma, you can actually get 5 points for that. You can also get points for any work experience if you have a nominated occupation with a skill level of between 1 to 3 in the ANZSCO dictionary. Also, you get points for working in your nominated occupation and living in that area for 1 year or longer. Okay, now we're moving over to South Australia. There are 3 different streams here. We can't cover them all in too much detail. The first is graduate. So every occupation has a requirement to have at least 6 to 12 months of relevant work experience. The second stream is talent stream, and the third is business innovation program. If you need more information on South Australia, please contact our office and we'll be able to do an assessment for you. Handing it back to Sanju for South Australia.
Yes, South Australia is one of the more, at this stage, most popular state in Australia, because it is also, there's a lot of other options, but in South Australia, most popular courses are community services, nursing, special diploma of nursing, and telecommunication network engineering. So if you enroll with us for diploma of nursing for next July, September or 2023 April intakes, we will give you a $500 cash back, and also we can guide you with the process as well. Back to Lydia.
Thanks, Angie. So we're moving down to Tasmania now, which has become a very popular destination recently, and they have 2 available occupation lists to choose from in Tasmania, and they are the Tasmanian Occupation List and the Priority Tasmanian Occupation List. Now I'm going to hand back to Sanju, who's going to talk about popular courses in Tasmania.
Yes, I think everyone can see there's more options than other states in Tasmania. So recently it has become one of the most famous states in Australia recently. So if you're planning to move to Tasmania, the best options are hospitality, community services, aged care. And if you're planning to do IT related course, the best option is either bachelor or master's in IT. Or the other option is agriculture, hotel management. Again, the trade courses are also good in Tasmania. For example, building and construction, carpentry. Back to Lydia to talk about the states.
Thanks, Andrew. So we're shooting across to Western Australia now. There are 3 streams here for pathways to permanent residency in Western Australia. The Premier has actually announced that he's going to allocate more seats in the financial year, so that's a good thing. We'll provide a breakdown of these 3 streams. So the first stream is Schedule 1, and that requires that you have 1 year of relevant work experience in Australia and an employment contract of 1 year. Schedule 2 requires that certain occupations are eligible under Schedule 2 and also for Schedule 1. Schedule 2 requires a 1 year employment contract within Western Australia. And the last is the graduate stream. So the requirement there is that you have 6 months of relevant work experience and a 6 month period on a valid employment contract. Some occupations are stronger in Western Australia, so Sandra's going to talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, for example, some, like as she mentioned, some occupations are really strong in Western Australia, especially Bachelor or Master of Nursing, which will lead to registered nursing, nurse PR pathway, and or else community services or IT in Western Australia. So we don't have much time to talk about everything in detail, so we're gonna do another video explaining each and every state individually. Back to Lydia.
We're up in Northern Territory now. There's a slight difference between the 491 and the 190 in Northern Territory. So it's kicking off with the 190 in urban areas of Northern Territory. The requirement is that you study in the Northern Territory for 2 years, that you have a genuine commitment to the Northern Territory, and that you have a minimum of six months full-time work rights at time of application. The requirements for the regional areas for Northern Territory are that you have 6 months of relevant work experience and a 1 year employment contract. Sandra is going to talk about popular courses up in the Northern Territory.
Yes, I quickly cover up this. Actually, nursing and IT, again, very good options in Northern Territory. And apart from that, agriculture is another good option in Northern Territory. I'm not gonna spend more time on Northern Territory because we have a few more things to cover up here. Back to Lydia.
So the last state is Queensland. So to be eligible for permanent residency, you must be studying and living in Queensland and working in the nominated occupation. The selection criteria requires that you have a certain level of experience in your nominated occupation. So Sandra's going to talk about course options for the general selection, and then I'll later talk about another popular PR option in Queensland. Thanks.
Yeah, so Queensland, again, nursing and teaching, community services and hospitality. So if you're planning to move to Queensland, and these are the best option if you're planning to study in Queensland, especially hospitality, because Queensland is one of the tourist attracted state in Australia. So if you're planning to move to Queensland, one of the best option is hospitality. Back to Lydia to talk about 491 SPO.
Thanks, Andrew. Yes, this 491 in regional areas of Queensland is extremely popular. It's for small businesses operating in regional areas of Queensland. What the requirements are is that the business has to have a purchase price of $100,000, not an investment cost. It needs to have been operating successfully for 2 years in Queensland. in Queensland and has to have employed at least 2 Australian citizens or permanent residents. So we have covered, today we've covered permanent residency, migration and course options for all states. The key takeaway is to check your eligibility for permanent residency under the General Skilled Migration Scheme using the 2-step process. So register your points on the expression of interest online system, and then make an application to the state or territory that you're interested in through a registration of interest. If you have any questions about this topic or any other area of migration law, please leave a message in the comment section below, and I will address it in my next video. This information is subject to state and government requirements, which can change at any time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and Lydia, as always, sharing this information. And so I would like to say, if you want to know more course options or PR pathway, your skill assessment process, you can always contact us. Before closing down this video, I want to mention we have promotions these days. As I mentioned earlier, if you enroll for a diploma, bachelor or master of nursing in any state before April 2023, we're gonna give you a $500 cashback. And also, if you're planning to apply for a new visa and changing your course, we do the visa service for free of charge as a complimentary service. If you have, as always, if you have any issues, you can always drop a comment, or you can call us on 1300-4-pathway, or which is 1300-472-849. And I'm repeating the number again, 1300-472-849. Please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, everyone.